That on the volume.
All right, and like the last testimony, I'm recording, but I'm gonna cut it off at the altar call, so, and only JD is being recorded. And with that, I want to introduce JD. He's one of my good friends. I actually knew him before either one of us was in recovery. And I'm so proud to see what God has done in his life. And with that, I'm going to just let JD tell you what God's done in his life.
Thank you, God. I'm going to grab this chair right here. Wait, y'all already got to work from the camera around. Oh! Hey, y'all doing tonight? It's a beautiful night, ain't it? My story starts out like a lot of addicts does. Parents was hard-working. Parents. My mom was a nurse. My dad was a truck driver. I always let my mental side of my addiction control my life from a very young age. Anything someone said to me, I always thought I was second best to them. You could tell me I was doing good, I wanted to hear the word great. So that developed a mental obsession of I wanted affirmations from anybody, no matter what it was. Even from my mom, from my cousins, my brothers. My mom, she was, like I said, she was a hard-working woman, but she was a tough woman to grow up with. She was set in her ways. Me and my brother, I always felt she made a difference between us, so I used that to control my addiction a lot. But I was about 14, that's when my addiction started. I had my oldest cousin, he'd been in drugs pretty much his whole life. He introduced me to Oxycontin 80. I called them little green monsters. You know, first time I done that, all my pain and worry went away. I didn't care no more. Didn't have no hurt, didn't have no pain. And that's when my disease of addiction started right there. Because it told me, you don't have to feel no more. You can do this and not feel. So that's what I started doing pills, to run from my pain, to run from everything that happened to me in my life. I went on, next 4 years, doing every kind of pill you can think of, anything I could get my hands on, I was doing just to escape that pain. 18 was the first time I'd ever tried crystal meth, but I didn't have a readily available source, so I liked it, but I didn't have a source, so I stayed over here with my pills. Well, that went on for another 5 or 6 years. Then I found me a source for methamphetamine. And that's when my life of addiction, my disease, took an overdrive. See, my disease had already told me that I didn't have to live with pain. I could run from it, I could escape. But when I discovered crystal meth, I realized I had the energy, I wasn't focusing on nothing, and I could do anything I wanted. So my disease, again, right there fed me, told me, fueled me, told me what to do, told me when to get it, told me how to get it. Like I said, I'm not going to try to focus too much on my drug addiction side of it. I'm going to focus more on what God's done in my life. But needless to say, my addiction, like most addicts, I discovered the needle, got on the needle, and that needle pretty much about took my entire life from me. It wasn't until I come to a CR meeting one time up here when I was still in bad addiction. I was actually high that night I come up here. JR picked me up on the church bus, brought me up here. I was so high I couldn't stay. So I had to be took back home. Because my disease told me everybody was watching me. My disease told me you need to go back and get what's at home. That way you don't have to worry about it. So that's what I've done. And this is how God works. Like JR said, me and him knew each other before either one of us was clean. He used to be my old dealer. When I was in the JR, got clean before I did. Like I said, come up here my first CR meeting. I was high, I run from it. I moved to Locust Street on Mount Vernon. And I'll be darned if my next door neighbor wasn't JR, it was clean. CR. Every time I drive up the road, there'll be a sign in his window, Jesus loves you. But my addiction told me I didn't want no part of that. I didn't want no part of God. Because all the things happening in my life, I felt like God turned his back on me. But that wasn't true. My disease told me that. I don't know, I lived across the street, about 6 months before I actually come to CR. When I finally decided to get clean, I was broken. I had enough. I was tired. I couldn't do it no more. And I tried to take my life with a hot shot. Half a gram of meth mixed with a chemical they make synthetic marijuana with. That alone should have killed me. But once again, God has something else planned for me. He wouldn't let me go. And I woke up, I was mad. Because I was awake. I wanted to die. That's what my addiction led me to. I did not want to live anymore. So October 5th, 2016 was the last time I stuck a needle in my arm. I tried white knuckling it for 3 months by myself. Because my addiction told me, my disease said, you can get clean without God. You can get clean without any help. But that's what my disease told me. So I'd had enough. I couldn't white knuckle it anymore, and I finally come to CR. Well, I was tired. I didn't want to hear a lot about Jesus. I didn't want to hear a lot about God. I just was trying to find something to help me stay sober. And at that time, CRs was pretty much the only thing in this county. So I went to, like I said, my second CR was up here at Northside. I found something that night. They wasn't preaching Jesus to me. They was showing me what Jesus truly was. They showed me love, accepted me for who I was. My disease was trying to tell me the whole time, that's not real. They don't love you. They're just faking. Well, I didn't listen to my disease then. I come back the next week. And then that's when I started coming back. And that's when I finally let go and let God come in my life. And he started doing some of the most amazing things I'd ever seen that could ever happen to me. I developed a family through CR, through all the recovery programs in this county. People that truly showed me and loved me for who I was. They didn't put no expectations on me. And I'd never had that in my life. I'd never had someone love me for me and accept me for who I was. A broken down addict. Well, once God showed me that, he started showing me a little more. Started showing me how to love, how to show my love that he'd shown me. He put me in a position to drive the church bus, pick people up, bring them to meetings, to give back. And this is before I'd even got to the 12th step. But he was showing me what the 12th step was like, the giving back part. So, God's got a funny way of showing what he can do in your life. And like I said, he handed me a church bus. The first thing that went through my mind was, these people are trusting a broken down addict who's a thief, who robbed people, who broke into people's houses, handed me keys to a bus, a vehicle, with insurance on it. That ain't ever happened in my life. But God done that. God showed that he loved me and he put it in their heart to trust me at that time. That was the first part of me giving back. The second part of God showing me how to give back was he put me in a position to be the assistant ministry leader here. Me and JR was the ministry leader. I was the assistant. He showed me that side of it, how to help organize and run a program, how to show people what love is by not expecting nothing in return. You know, I still in the back of my addict mind, I'm still thinking this ain't possible. This ain't really happening. Something's gonna happen. Something's gonna take this from me. But that's when I went back and started working the steps again, and I truly sat down and studied step 1, what powerless actually means. See, I can admit that I'm powerless over my addiction, but I still got several other things that I'm powerless over. If I don't admit that I'm powerless over them, what good's admitting one thing? So that's when I started studying powerlessness. How can I give everything up? How can I let go of all control? And that's when God opened the door for me to go work on the front lines of addiction in a men's rehabilitation center in Somerset, Kentucky, at Lake Hills Oasis under Addiction Recovery Care. Because I was always I was controlled. I wanted to control everything. If you're doing something, I want to know what you're doing, how you're doing it, when you're doing it. But when God put me in that position, I had to start off at the bottom, where I had no control. I had to trust people above me to tell me what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And what that taught me was my powerlessness. How to become powerless over everything. I learned that it don't matter what I want. Someone greater than me has something better planned. And I just have to trust it. Trust the process. I tell you, working the front lines of addiction in a rehab center, you see a lot of broken people that are just like you. But their disease tells them that their disease is worse than mine. And working at the job I'm at has taught me a whole new level of acceptance along with powerlessness. Because, to be honest with you, you work on the front lines, you get cussed, you get yelled at, you get screamed, you get stuff thrown at you. But I had to constantly remember, I was that person. I didn't want no part of Jesus. I didn't want no part of recovery. I didn't want nobody to tell me what to do. Because my addiction, my disease told me I know what to do and know how to do it. You know, me and a friend was talking the other day about a closed mouth don't get fed. Me and him was talking about it. I asked him what it meant to him. He said, well, if I don't ask for help, how am I going to get help? You know, that's very, very true to me. But it also means, to me, you can have too much knowledge and not know how to apply it. That's where trusting God comes in. Because without God, I wouldn't be clean today. Because I know JD craves the chaos. JD craves everything bad in this world. And with God, trusting Him, He'll tell me what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. But I have to be able to trust Him. I have to be able to discern from my addiction thinking and God tell me what to do. And you know, God has done so much in my life in the past 4 years that I've been sober. Like I said, He put me in a bus ministry, put me in CR minister, put me in a rehab working with addicts just like me. He brought my oldest daughter back home to live with us after me and my wife been together 8 years. He's provided me new vehicles. He's provided me a home. He's provided me food, water, electricity. But I had to get to the point where that's him, not me. Because I can take credit for everything. But in all reality, it's nothing that I done. My power, the only power I had over my addiction was the day I laid everything down on the altar. When every day I dropped everything that goes on in my life. The day I trust that no matter what he says, I do it. And I've been offered other jobs within the company, but it's not God's plan for me. Because I know he put me in one spot because he wants me there at this time. If I was to go somewhere else, how do I know I'm gonna? Because this over here, yeah, it's all golden, all pretty. But over here, I'm at peace. I'm in love. I have a family. You know, my testimony used to be long. I kind of shortened it down a little bit. I think last time I was up here, I went for an hour. But I'm just going to keep mine short and simple because it's all God, it's all glory, it's all Him. There's nothing that I've ever done that could compare to the smallest thing He's done in my life. And you know, it all comes down to the point, how much do you trust Him? Are you willing to give it up to have a better life no matter what it is? My life ain't glorious, it ain't glamorous, but you know what? I'm at peace. I have a peace about me that only God can give. I have a love within me that only God placed there. So with that, I'm gonna wrap mine up and Jared, you want to do the altar call?
I can if you want me to.
Thank you.